Welcome to Sobre, Mesa, a podcast from our table to yours. It's me and Alex today.
Hey.
What's up? Today we have a very special guest. Victor Musoni is here.
What's happening?
Round of applause. Hey.
Victor is a very close friend of mine. We did a play together a couple of years ago, and I've just adored him ever since. So
La Habana, Madrid.
Yes.
If you're the Chicago native, you know it's been put on so many times, but I think it should be continued to be put on.
Yeah,
you did such a fabulous job with it. You both did. You both did. Give credit where credit is due.
He's like, yes, I also love Alex.
Yeah, I think you both did a great job with it. Jalbeli and I went opening night. I know that if she was here, she would tell you it was fabulous. And since we went opening night, they had that Puerto Rican food there.
Yeah.
Honey.
Do you remember opening night? We had all that.
Let me tell you, that was bussin'. I was like, thank God.
That was from Ponce, right?
Yes.
Oh
my God.
It was so good.
Y'all, I still think about it to this day.
No, me too. I literally was like, damn, I actually haven't eaten that good since, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So we have to find our way back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so to start off, Victor, please tell us who you are, tell us what you do, how you identify.
Bet. Well, my name is Victor Musoni. He, him, his pronouns. I am Black and Puerto Rican, Afro-Latino, to be real specific about it. I'm a Chicago native, an actor, a poet, a dancer, various amalgamation of artistries. And yeah, I'm just, I'm a young kid from Chicago at the end of it. So
that's an identity within itself, for real.
It is, truly.
The more you move to big cities, the more you realize how little locals there are within those cities. So it's really cool to be sitting down with someone from Chicago, the real Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember one conversation that we had when we were still in rehearsals for La Habana, when you were just talking about friends that you know, and you were just casually talking about how you knew Chance the Rapper when you were a baby.
Lil Chano,
before he popped off, and I was like, wait, what are you talking about? He was
my 17-year-old self is crying that you said that.
Those open mics, everyone was at those open mics, U Media, YCA, all of those, everybody was there, and it's wild to think if I saw Chance or he saw me on the street, it wouldn't be yo, Vic, what's going on? He would not recognize me in a, you know what I'm saying, but it's always interesting to be I sat and I had many conversations with Chance. He handed me 10-day, his original, you know what I'm saying, when he was handing out 10-day at Jones when he was suspended. It was
that is so sick.
I got one of those. Yeah. So grateful for it.
Yeah. So what kind of experiences have you had within the Chicago artistic community? Because I know you've been so prevalently involved since you were so young too. So
you're a young little hustler.
No, he really is just so Victor. I will say this forever and ever. Victor is one of the most talented people I've ever met, and I appreciated the fact that I just get to know him.
Oh, I love you, Alex. I started. What did I? Oh, geez. My first. Okay, I'll start with the first play I ever did. I was in kindergarten, at school, and then from there, I did plays at school, but then I joined this hip hop arts organization called LYNX. And from then on, I joined them when I was about 7 or 8, and I started breakdancing with them, and taking photos, and we did a lot of traveling. But KUUMBA LYNX's whole mantra is doing teaching social justice through hip hop, so I'm 8 years old. We're at the protest, but we're not like just chanting, but we're also like putting on we're doing dances, we're speaking poems. And so that was really my introduction to like Chicago and the unique form of art that we create. Because there's a lot of cities that do social justice based art, but I don't think anyone I've experienced has ever done it like Chicago, in the sense of just like everyone here knows essentially what the role is, and what their role is, and everyone is also willing to explore something new. And I think being so young, entering that, and just watching all of my friends and a bunch of mentors that I know and love now, as adults, it's just like being young. I was like, wow, I've never heard words put together like that. I want to try that. And I'd go home and I'd write something like that, and I'd bring it to KUUMBA LYNX the next day. And then I kind of, as the years went on, I was in KUUMBA LYNX from when I was 7 or 8 until I graduated high school, because that's kind of, once you graduate high school, you're considered an alumni at KUUMBA LYNX, but like you can still be
Wow, so
involved.
that's family.
Yeah, that's my blood family. Like that's like I if I could cut my wrist and share blood with them, I would. Like there's so many different things to do. Like there's dancing, there's photography, there's music production, there's poetry. There's also like they started bringing in like fashion design and all of that stuff, and like they encourage you to just explore every single one, like really find where your voice is and what you want to do. And so throughout the years, I went through dance, I went through photography, and then Jacinda and Jaquanda and Lady Soul are the founders of KUUMBA LYNX. They're the three women that founded KUUMBA LYNX almost 30 years ago now. And it was
Wow.
yeah, they were about my age when they founded it. They were like 20, 21-ish, and they were just like, we need a space for people like us, young people, young artists, to just feel safe. And so we go to Clarendon Park, and yeah, Jacinda, she had told me one day, we were just sitting around, she's like, Victor, come in. And then she just brought me into the room, and that's how I got involved with the Louder Than a Bomb Slam team with them. It wasn't a question of, do you want to or anything. It was like, no, I've heard you right, you're gonna do it, and like it was just that push that they always just push you to be the best, and that's the most beautiful thing about them. Is just they always they take in anybody that comes through the space with just the most grand form of love. And so yeah, I got my start for real with them. Like I cultivated everything I really practiced daily with KUUMBA LYNX, which then kind of, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but like it led me to where to lead you
no that's we want you to have this space.
Yeah, like this is why you're here.
Thank y'all. And so it led me to where'd I go? I went to high school at Westinghouse first, but then I thought I was gonna play basketball. Lied to myself. I went to Senn High School my junior and senior year. But that's where my junior year of high school was where I was really introduced to the theatrical world of Chicago and the theater. And I started doing my first professional show. I think I did my first professional show at 16. It was called How We Got On, at the Den Theater, which is funny enough, we did La Havana at the Den Theater. And yeah, and so like that was my first professional show ever. And from then on, it was just kind of just like, okay, you're really good at this. Let's put you here. Let's put you here. Let's put you here. Let's put you here. I got my first agent at 17. Marisa Pelnessa, love her to death. Pelnessa Talent Agency. And from then on, it was just kind of just like catapulted into so many different scenes and scenarios. And I really got deeper into film and TV around 1920, and so now I'm kind of deeper in the trenches of film and TV, which is exciting. But yeah, so that's like a short summary of my artistic journey in the city. It started with social justice at KUUMBA LYNX, and it grew from there.
I love it. And I mean, like, that's something that all of us at Viv and Alix are so passionate about, is using art to create social justice and working with other programs like KUUMBA LYNX to like build that seed when you're young, because it's so important for those kids to have some kind of outlet like that, and also like everyone can learn something.
And I think that's a really cool thing. I love what you were saying earlier about Chicago being one of those cities, because I think it's embedded in the history that social justice and art do coincide. I feel like there are many other cities where people are obviously doing art in social justice. It's very popular, especially nowadays with the media. But I think that's part of like Chicago's culture. One can't exist without the other, really.
Yeah.
Especially in the art scene here, which is really, really awesome, because I think that it cultivates people like KUUMBA LYNX and Latinidad and so many of these neighborhoods to have more of these community organizations and places that kids can go to be a better artists in the future.
Absolutely. Totally,
I love
yo.
it.
It's beautiful. I've met some of my best friends doing this kind of work, you know what I'm saying? And like I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I'm so grateful for it. So
100%.
That's awesome.
So can you give us I know because I'm on the end, but
I'm not on the end, so get me on the end. Fill me in.
Victor is always booked and blessed, as we know, and he's got some really cool projects coming out soon. So if you just want to like drop a name,
we're gonna roll out the red carpet for you. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on. You can't say what you can say, of course.
Super high secret profiles.
Of course. So I'm currently in the midst of filming a TV show in Chicago called 61st Street, and which is really, really exciting. It's a crime drama about that kind of investigates the corrupt police system in this city, which is really, really exciting to be a part of. And then and that's also like my biggest role on TV ever. So like up to date, and so like it's really exciting for me.
Hey, that's awesome.
And so then
don't forget that Chicago Med.
Yeah, I was finished, and then I did Chicago Med.
We love it. Chicago Med.
Chicago Med 2019. I did that one. Grateful for that. And then the Come Up, which is a pilot that my friends and I from high school we created, because it was more my friends Justin and Tavion. They created the pilot together because in high school there was this group called the Come Up Kids. It was a slam poetry team, and so it's kind of loosely based off of that, and like how a lot of Black and brown youth kind of speak trauma through poems and through art, and like what that looks like and what that process looks like to kind of get there, which is super duper exciting. And so we filmed that pilot, and it's going through the slew of festivals right now, so just keep that thing in his prayers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really, really exciting. And then what else? I just started rehearsals for this play called America v 2.1, The Sad Demise and Eventual Extinction of the American Negro by Stacey Rose, which is a whirlwind of a play. Very, very exciting. We are going to be rehearsing it and then filming it like a movie, which is super, super cool. And that, yeah, it's just like a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, just a lot of, it's like an emotionally acrobatic play, which is super, super exciting. Yeah, that's aside from me being in freaking school right now, I'm on my
yeah, also like, wow, how are you doing all of that?
I'm on my summer break. I just finished my junior year at UIC, which I'm super, super elated about, and I'm just ready to get out. So
we finished school the last like 2 months.
Yeah, we finished school like what, 2 months before COVID? Or no 2 months into COVID. So I can only imagine for everyone out there doing Zoom school, you are braver than me.
Congratulations to y'all, by the way. Big congrats to y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
So
throughout that whole thing, like graduating in 2020 was so funny because like there couldn't be any graduations or the tea. Y'all were there. And my mom was trying to make me feel better. She was like, Michelle Obama congratulated the class of 2020. Not every class can say that. I was like, thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks,
You're right.
Mom. I
Yeah,
appreciate
you're right.
it.
You know, thank you, Michelle Obama.
Right.
They're always doing that. She's just trying to look out for you. That's what moms do.
Yeah.
I guess. It's like I still got to go through it.
Okay, next question. Yeah. Victor, do you speak Spanish?
I do and don't. It's one of those things where it's like if you throw me in an environment where a bunch of people are speaking the language, um, I will be able to hold my own, you know, and be able to speak. But it's not like something I grew up speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned it on my own. No one ever really taught me. And so it was just one of those things. It was just like I can hear it and understand it probably better than I can speak it.
I think that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I didn't grow up with like anyone teaching me it, but I like took classes in school and my mom did like worksheets with me and stuff, but like I never had practice like speaking it with anyone. So I think that was like always the biggest hurdle of like trying so hard to not like embarrass myself when I was speaking
Yeah.
it, and then just like feeling all this pressure. But I feel like I understand so much, and yeah, I think that language is like such an interesting thing, and it's such a big part of Latin culture where people are, especially like right now, people are like no sabo kid and blah blah blah. It's like I don't know. I think that's not. Yeah, I know. I think it's like we shouldn't be exclusionary and like
no,
this
it's not
stuff.
cute to gatekeep the community.
Yeah,
never has been.
I always know because my father is Puerto Rican and like most of the Puerto Rican kids that I know do not know how to speak Spanish. It's just a thing. And I just find that so funny. It's just like you don't know it either? Me neither, man. Okay, we good here. Like
yeah, I think it's like so funny because it's just like, okay, well, you're like judging me for not knowing how to do it, but then like there's millions of other people who also like are in the same boat as me. And it's also just like there's so many, especially in the US, where it's like there's different generations and people are like so and so far removed from the like mainland and stuff like that, where it's like it is a beautiful language, but it's also like you don't need to speak it to still identify with that culture.
For real.
But I also like I still want to learn it, you know, like I want to speak to my abuelita on my own and stuff, and I think it's a beautiful language and why not learn it. But like, you know, I saw something on TikTok the other day that was like for anyone who wants to hear this right now, like if you don't speak Spanish, it's okay. If you go back far enough, none of our ancestors spoke Spanish. And
that's tea.
I know that really hit me because I was like, yeah, guys, colonization really got us in a chokehold.
Yeah, they got us in chains out here.
Like, exactly. I was like, thank you. I did need to hear that today.
They didn't speak English either, though.
No, I know.
They didn't.
Tea.
So
you talked about how you're Black and Puerto Rican. So, did you grow up with a lot of Puerto Rican friends in school? I know Chicago is like a big hub for Puerto Rican culture as well. So, how did you feel growing up that tied into your life? And is it different now that you're older and you have more agency and a little bit? I would assume as well that you're a little bit more like getting into your culture and seeing what that means for you now.
Yeah.
So, how's that really changed throughout the years?
It's interesting. For me, like when growing up, like I didn't meet my father until I was about 4 or 5 or so. And so because of that, I kind of really was unsure of that part of my identity for a while. And also just visibly the way people perceive me, people don't automatically assume I'm Puerto Rican. People are just automatically assume I'm fully, my blackness is what they see. And I have no problem with that. I mean, I am Black, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's not necessarily a thing I have an issue with. It's more so just the thing of just like when it comes to addressing my Latinidad, or the part of me that is Puerto Rican, it's just like there's a big sense of erasure that's felt. So I felt like for me, um, I've done a lot of my own discovery of of that side of myself, because I have my own relationship with that side of my family that is very much so its own thing. But it's just like I've done a lot of my own research and done a lot of my own um discoveries on what it means to be Puerto Rican, like where we come from, or like, and like what cultural practices we partake in. And I think what really connected me the most was like just spirituality and the spiritual practices. Like I really am fascinated and really deeply into Santeria, and like the orishas and like what they have to say and like what they entail. And so I think learning and doing my own research and discovery about Santeria and about the orishas and about what each one means and who is worshipped in my family. um I think that's really helped me connect to that portion of myself. um because even the Spanish I was learning, it was like I picked up from listening, but I was in high school learning it, so I'm learning very Spaniard conquistador-esque Spanish, and that's not always fun, nor is it necessarily, you know what I'm saying? It's not easy to talk to my family that way, because words are different, phrases are different, words, you know what I'm saying?
They don't
And
speak
so
like
like, yeah, exactly. They don't speak like that at all. And so I was just like, I found it it was difficult for me, to like really discover that piece of myself. But as I got older, it became easier, because I felt like I was able to find the tools and like know what I needed to do, rather than just sitting and dazed and confused and not knowing, okay, where do I go from here? I know the language a little bit, but where does this take me? So
Yeah, I think it's really hard, especially with like immigrant families, since people's culture is so tied to their families. And we don't always have the most linear relationship with our families, especially with people who do have like families back in the mainland. It's like, well, we don't connect on the same things. And now I'm here and I'm kind of going through my own journey, and I don't know how navigate that. And I don't know if you feel this way, because I didn't really know what it meant to be Afro-Latino necessarily until later on. I didn't really see that as like a topic that people were talking about. It was like being Black and being Latinx were like two things that could for some reason not be a thing together, when that is like so not the case. And so there's like a big erasure in that as well. So I think like being older helped me realize and then kind of find my place in that world a little bit more.
I
I
completely
think that
agree.
I mean, at least as far as I know, I feel like as far as I know, that like talking point isn't like an issue in like Latin American countries themselves. I feel like that's more of a thing here in like the US.
Yes and no. I
mean,
I would say that there's a lot of like racism and colorism in Latin America, but I think also there's a big difference in between being African American and then being like Afro Latino. And sometimes like you can be both. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's what I'm trying to say is like at least they understand that like all of us come in like different shades. So just by looking at someone, I can't like make those kinds of assumptions, where I feel like in the US they look at someone Black and they're like, how could you be Latin American? Like that doesn't compute in
compute in their brains.
But there is still obviously problems.
It's really interesting to me too, because it's like I've had this conversation with my dad a lot about like how the world perceives me. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I go out into the world and people look at me, they're going to respond to me as a Black person. They're going to respond to you as a person of color who's not Black. 100%. You're going to be responded to as a Puerto Rican. And I even think of like the conflict between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. You know what I'm saying? And like what was going on there, where you have
we talk about this all the time.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have them like kicking out Haitians and like wanting their death for many things because they're black, but you look at each other, it's like, hold on, wait a minute, we the same, we look the exact same, you know what I'm saying? And so
yeah, what
it's
are
one
you
of those,
talking about?
exactly. And so it's like, it's always that conversation of just like, just people are gonna look at me very differently, you know, when I walk into, and it happens a lot with like Mexican restaurants especially, and this is nothing against you know what I'm saying, this is nothing against Mexican people or anybody from there, but like I walk into Mexican restaurants and I order in Spanish and they look at me funny, you know what I'm saying? They don't believe, they're just like, what is going on, how do you know this language, what is this, you know? And they don't believe it, so they'll like question me, be like, where are you from, where's your family from, where's your dad from, are you sure, like, da, da, da. And I'm just like, yes, I just give me my freaking torta, okay? I want to go home. You know, so
Can I have my own horchata?
Yeah.
Can I leave?
Ow.
You know what's really funny? So my family and I were going on a trip, and we were going to Spain. Well, we were going to Greece, but we had a layover in Spain in Spanish, in the Madrid airport, I think it was. And we were there for a couple hours. So we were like, okay, I guess we'll just have lunch in this airport. And there was a Dominican girl there that worked at the restaurant we were eating at. And I was like, oh man, I don't know her, so I don't want to be weird. But I was just like, how is it living in Spain?
Yeah.
Because there's always a part of me that's always wanted to go to Spain. I love like just Spanish culture. I think it's very beautiful, but also it's like the conquistador culture, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, damn.
Where it all began.
Yeah, where it all began. So I wanted to be like, damn, sis, like, how is it being a Dominican woman, like a black woman living in Spain?
Yeah.
Like, do they treat you differently? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like a very something that people don't really think about.
Yeah.
And
like,
since blackness is obviously the first thing people see in you when you walk in a room, that is what comes first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And like even my mom,
in identity, I would think.
Yeah.
She used to travel to Spain a lot, you know what I'm saying? And my mom is Zimbabwean fully, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't speak Spanish. She doesn't have any blood in her that has that language or that culture in her. But it's still that thing of like, she goes there and people do look at her funny. People do talk to her funny. People assume a lot about her, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, dang, do I want to go to Spain?
Yeah.
But I do. But I'm also like, do I? You know, it's that thing of just like mapping out, you know, it's like there's a thing of like, I have to map out exactly. And I have to map out like my safety. Like, okay, if I go here, where will I be? What can happen? Because of my physical identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's just that thing of like, it's such a nuanced conversation that I've always had, because even in high school, when my Spanish teachers would like talk to me and assume things about me, when I told them I was Puerto Rican, they were like, oh, you are? And I'm like, girl, I don't just sound like this. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I picked this up from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's just that,
yeah,
it's like you said, Alex, it's a double-edged sword.
Do you feel like you have to do that same kind of like pre-planning and like defense mode in Chicago? I feel like I want to know your point of view, like growing up in the city, because I grew up in Illinois, like outside of the city in the burbs, so that was a very different experience from, I'm sure, what you had, because I was like in white suburbia and like one of the only people of color. But like growing up in the city, there's so much diversity here, there's just so many people here. Like, how do you feel that would be compared to like going to Spain or something?
I mean, Chicago, it's like,
take your time.
My thing about Chicago is like, it's one of the most diverse cities probably in the nation, but it's also probably the most segregated, you know? There's neighborhoods that my mom was always like, okay, maybe you shouldn't go here alone at this time, you know? Like, even when I go to like the Puerto Rican festival with my father, like Latin kings used to surround me and be like, what set you up? You GD? I'm like, no, bro. I'm looking for funnel cakes. You know what I'm saying? But like,
No.
like
Yeah.
Humboldt Park or like Pilsen, or like I've experienced anti-blackness in those neck of the woods, which has broken my heart. But also for when it comes to white people, it's like I go to like Bridgeport, like Bridge, you know what I'm saying? Bridgeport is a neighborhood that it's just like people here know. It's like Bridgeport is not a neighborhood for you to just be walking around at some random time of night, because those white people are there are racist and crazily racist. You know what I'm saying? Um and like I think it's also too like the police system here and the way the police work. We have one of the most militant forces of police in the nation. You know, like our police are trained with Israel. You know what I'm saying? They're trained in Israel. So it's like when you have that type of militaristic police system, and the whole police system is reformed slave patrol. You know what I'm saying? It's like then you have these neighborhoods, especially up north. Like I live up north, and there's always police everywhere. They're hawking. But then you also go further south, and they're really hawking because they're just like, I'm bored. Let me arrest somebody. Let me take somebody. So I think growing up in this city, it's kind of just like a game of
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a really diverse city, but it's like, okay, I'm in this neighborhood at this time. What's going on? Who do I see around me? And what's kind of happening in this space? You know, it's just I think most of myself and my friends that I know from Chicago, wherever we go, we're super attentive and like head on a swivel all the time. Just because of the environment we've grown up in, and like understanding like, okay, what's going on? Who is that? Why are they driving so slow? Why are they moving so? Because it's like this city, it's beautiful, but it's also had its very deep spans of violences, and intense violences. um and so because of that, it's one of those things of just like I'm survival mode always, you know, and it's a blessing and a curse. But like I think growing up in this city, I just understand the necessity for survival mode, but also I wish that I didn't have to at all times, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. I think that was a really big culture shock to me because I come from Florida, and that's a big Latinx community, and I come from Orlando, which is a huge tourist city. So I always saw so many different types of people, and they're everywhere all the time. Like, yes, we do have our, of course, like little segregated neighborhoods, but it's nothing like here. And I knew that Chicago was such a diverse city, such a black city, um, or and I was so shocked when I came here and I moved to the Loop and I saw like just like black service workers and all of these white businessmen in the Loop, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't realize that was a real thing.
It was like
Yeah, I was like, that's insane to me that that's happening in like one of the
Yeah.
most popular, diverse, biggest cities in the nation and in the world. Really, like it's
Yeah.
wild.
No.
And it's still happening. There's so many like I was looking at Logan Square the other day, and that's like gentrification station out there right now. It's crazy.
Oh my God, Logan
It
Square
is,
makes
yeah.
me
It is.
sick.
It's a shame. It's such a shame.
It
I
makes me
know.
sick, that
No,
neighborhood.
no
Like,
offense to the Logan Square. No offense to the Logan Square
Homies.
residents here. We love it there. The bars are cute. I will admit.
for
They
sure,
got me.
but it's
I got like
just
a little cute little ice cream the other day.
right, exactly. It's a cute little neighborhood, but at the same time, it's like that used to be a neighborhood that I was scared to go in, and now I can just walk around there chilling. Like one of my best friends lives in Logan, and it's like I walk around there with her all the time, and she's black. You know what I'm saying? We walk around together, and I'm just like, girl, what is this? What is going on? Like,
Yeah.
it's really insane.
What happened to the original plot of the movie?
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Logan Square is so close to Humboldt, but yet like, and people like white people want to gentrify Humboldt Park so bad, but the Puerto Ricans is not going. Like I've never like they are not.
The Puerto Ricans are not letting up, and they should. Y'all should fight. Them in Pilsen,
Please.
they're fighting for their lives out there.
Like, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm so great. I love it. Like, I'm just like, yes, rid of all the white people. That's my. But it's also at the same time, it's just like I hate that. I despise seeing people fight for a home. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you live here, you've lived here all your life, and now people are walking in trying to take it as if it's been theirs this whole time, just because money is involved, and that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, that's like she lives in Florida now, but my abuela used to live over there, and one thing I love about Puerto Ricans too is they gonna always move to Florida. Like she used to be chilling in her little crib in Humboldt Park, and then all these white people just started coming in and raising the prices of things, and they couldn't afford it. Like my grandfather just had surgery and stuff, so it's just that thing of just like they can't afford to live their lives, just a daily life. And so, not that they didn't want to move to Florida, but it's still just like at that point it became like we gotta go, we can't afford to stay here no more. And that pisses me clean off. So like,
yeah, fuck gentrification, it's the worst.
We hate it.
For real.
Yeah.
For real.
And it's a shame because there's all these like beautiful neighborhoods. It's like part of me is like, I'm so mad at the way that the city is segregated, but then I'm also like, God, it's like now it's become such a part of the culture, such a part of the history that it's the only way that some of these communities can find peace is to stay in their neighborhood. They can't even do that either.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you expect them to go then? It's wild.
Yeah, and it's just insane that like it's not about anything except money. It's literally just like some random person decided that I'm gonna come here now, and I like this cute little place. I have like a 6-figure or more paying job, and I'm just gonna like do whatever the hell I want and not think about like what consequences are gonna come from that. And that's just it's so upsetting that that now people are so disregarding of the other people around them, especially in a city where it's like you are surrounded by people all the time. How do you not like have any regard for the people around you?
I mean, think like I'm brown, I'm a black girl, and I walk around places like Logan Square, Pilsen, Humboldt Park, and even I'm like, I wouldn't move here because I'm not from here, and it feels weird for me to move here, me not even being from Chicago. Like, it feels like I'm moving to someone's house.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how the white people are feeling.
I think there's something in their brain that is just like, they just don't get it, or they don't, like, ignorance is bliss, really. They got rose-colored glasses on with those kinds of things.
They're like,
literally, it's the same thing for me that happened with, like, COVID. Like, white people love to spread disease, they love to take things over, and they just love, you know what I'm saying? They just anything that will grant them power and higher class, they'll do, and like without a thought of who's below them. And it's so deeply entrenched into the culture of this country that it's to the point of just like white people, the way they walk down the street, you know what I'm saying? Like, they won't move out your way, you know what I'm saying? If they won't move out your way when you walk down the street, they won't, when you order food, it's like they won't look you in your eyes. It's things like that. It's just like white people in this country are so used to being in places of power and given power and expected to and assumed to have the power in every situation, that because of that, that's how they move, that's how they take over spaces, that's how they walk into spaces that aren't theirs and claim it as such. And I want to throw up.
No, it's true. And I think that when all this stuff happened last summer with George Floyd and the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, even though it had already been a movement for years and Black people have been enduring this since their history in this country, I think that this time it resonated so much with white people. They were so shell-shocked because they've never had to think about these things, and it was when it was thrown in their face in the way that it was, they were so shocked at the amount of privilege they had. Because we've been talking about white privilege for years now. It's become such a hot topic in the media. I think especially people are using it as propaganda now to this point. And now I think white people are afraid to speak up in the sense that they're like, oh, now everything I say is going to be looked at under a microscope. But it's because they weren't aware of the amount of white privilege they had. And that was something that I was kind of struggling with, is that I was like, why am I trying to, or why do I feel like I have to make white friends of mine okay with how everything is going down and have to make sure. But then I had to think to myself, well, they just really didn't know the amount of privilege they had.
But even that, I think, like, that's not an excuse.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's a reason. It's not an excuse.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I ever thought, and I'm half white, half Colombian, so like half of my family is white, and I grew up in white suburbia, so like I've been around my share of them, and I don't think I ever really had the expectation of them to like understand kind of this second world that people of color live in, where we do have to always be on survival mode, and we do always have to like scan the room, make sure we're like walking on the right street, make sure we're like safeguarding ourselves and careful what you're saying and all that kind of stuff. And I never expected them to get it or to understand like what that would be like, because I think just from like a very young age, I just never saw any of them in positions or in relationships with people that like that would even be an option for them. Like, it's just never come up for them. And I think why George Floyd was so powerful is because like they had no choice but to look. There was nowhere that they could turn their heads to look away. And I don't know why that was like the thing that hit it off, because so many times that had happened before, where like we had seen video footage and we had seen pictures and heard like voice recordings and stuff. So it's not like it was something that it was happening for the first time. And I don't know, I guess just like
it's the perfect storm.
Yeah,
I think people were also stuck in their houses. So
yeah,
it was the perfect storm.
It was just like, I guess, divine timing. Like, okay, we're gonna have this conversation now, but I never expect. Yeah, exactly. You don't have anything else going on, so you have to pay attention. And I never, and it saddens me that I never like expected white people around me to have that kind of understanding. I just always kind of knew that I had to be accommodating for my own well-being, you know. But yeah,
I mean, but this is why we have to support things like KUUMBA LYNX, like
exactly.
Black-owned, Latino-owned, brown-owned businesses, because we deserve to be bougie too. I want a bougie ice cream place in Logan Square that's Black-owned. I want it. I want it.
Please talk about it. Let them know. Please talk
I would pay $10 for an ice cream bar that was like, I don't know, like
has 3 sprinkles on it.
Like I do want that bougie experience, and I don't necessarily, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. We deserve that too. It doesn't always have to be such a struggle. Like, damn, we deserve to enjoy our truth as well.
Yeah.
No, but that's real though. Like, it's so real about, and it's like, I always find it interesting, especially coming from a place of like, you know, growing up with like some money insecurity. It's like when I get to that point, it's like, oh, I have this. How do I, you know what I'm saying? How do I maintain this? How do I do this? But it's like, the way we've grown up, the way that country has kind of formed us into believing, it's like, dang, do I necessarily quote unquote deserve to spend this money on something I want? Do I need, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and of course I do. I know in my deepest brain that I do. But at the same time, it's still just like, damn, like this is a thought of mine now. And now I'm wondering, like, do I do this? How do I do this? Do I need to help out? How do I take care of my people? Da 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 da. And it's just like, dog, this is a very tiny check. I still gotta buy groceries. I still gotta buy this. And the luxury part is, you know what I'm saying? I feel that guilt, that like conditioning of being like, dang, I'm resting. Why? I feel guilty about it now. I don't feel good about resting because I feel like I need to be productive. I need to be working. I need to be taking care of something, you know? And like, it's aggravating.
I think that is such a talking point in communities of color right now, where it's like resting is self-care, and like resting is a form of protest, because, and I mean it is, because we always have to be on guard, and we always have to be hustling, and we always have to be out here like doing whatever we can to like advance not even just ourselves, but like the mindset is always like community. It's always family. It's never just like me. It's what am I gonna do in order to like help this person and this person, and where should I shop in order to help my community, and take these people with me, and they're gonna take me on their journey too. And I just don't think that's like a part of white American culture, because it's not. That wasn't the American dream. The American dream was like, I'm gonna get a job for myself, I'm gonna provide for myself and my own family, and I'm gonna buy my own house and not worry about anyone else.
It's very individualistic, and I think as much as but that's what I do love about Latinx culture, is that it is so based around community. And I feel like aside from the anti-blackness that is part of Latinx, of a lot of Latinx culture, I think that's why in times of the past, the Latinx culture and the Black community have leaned on each other so well, is because they both have that sense of community and that sense of family, of like, we're all coming up together, I'm helping us. But that also means that sometimes we have to look after ourselves and be like, no, you know what? I do deserve this, like, expensive thing. Yeah. I do deserve to, like, not do anything today. Yeah. Or whatever it may be.
And also, like, all of your successes don't always have to be about everyone. Yeah. Sometimes it can just be about taking care of yourself. And it has to be. Yeah, otherwise, like, how are you going to keep going on? You can't. You don't have, like, the willpower anymore.
I think that community, the thing about community, too, is, like, knowing when to take your rest. Because it's, like, if you showing up to the community unrested, very tired with the inability to I guess, quote unquote, fulfill your role, because, you know, everybody has a role in the community. Everybody has something they have to take care of in their own sense, you know. And it's just like, if you're too tired to do that, or if you're worn out, or if you have a lot of other things to do, that's not necessarily a problem. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, I think a lot about, like, the protest last year, and how everyone was like, oh, I can't be at the protest, I can't be outside, it makes me nervous, you know. But it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Yes, people are getting arrested. Give them money for bail. Yes, let's get food out. Let's do this. Like, everybody's got a role in this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, understanding that and understanding where you fit in. If you're too tired to do one thing, you know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself. Like, understand that you, of course, come first. If your body can't be put on the line, don't put your body on the line. That's not your responsibility, you know? But understand that, of course, in a community, there's always a responsibility. You know, there's always people that need to be taken care of. That's what community is for. But it's like, if you can't bring your full self to it, you know, then give yourself the space to rejuvenate so you can, you know? So yeah.
Totally. And it's also like, we're all, like, even though, like, communities have, like, a uniting factor about them, everyone within that community has differences, and they're all unique, and, like, every person is different. So, like, someone can feel like, yes, I'm going to go to a protest, and that's, like, how I'm going to show up for people. But some people might feel, like, anxiety around that, or they just don't want to. That is a big risk. I mean, it was, like, especially in Chicago last summer, the police were disgustingly brutal with the city, with the citizens of the city. And it was like, you were putting yourself in harm's way. And some people were willing to take that risk because that's how they felt like they could show up best. And some people were like, no, I'm going to donate to the bales, and I'm going to donate to, like,
I'm gonna hand out water bottles. I'm gonna do what you can.
Yeah, and it's like, some people you're not all built the same to do the same roles. Everyone has different roles, or else nothing else would get done. Like, we can't all just do the same thing.
Absolutely. I want to shift gears a little bit.
All right.
I want to ask you, what's your favorite part about being Latin American? Like, what especially now that you are older and you've gone to do some more research and found that identity within yourself, and it's a lifelong journey. So for right now, what's your favorite thing about being Latin American?
Ooh, okay, there's a lot. So, like, one, materialistically, let's start there. Food, I love to eat. There's just so many acapurrias, empanadas, arroz con gandules, like, all of that stuff, you know. And music, music is also one of my favorite things. I think music, just for me in general, is a big savior, you know. But, like, music in another language that speaks to a very different thing, but also sometimes the same thing, and just listening to different forms, like hearing congas, hearing, you know what I'm saying, hearing drums, hearing different instruments that come from, especially from Puerto Rico, because that's a lot of the music I listen to, like Hector Lavoe, Celia Cruz, like all of these people. I adore them so much, you know. And what else? Um, I think pride. Pride is one of my favorite things about it. It's just like, especially like I'm speaking very specifically to Puerto Ricans because of the history with the flag, and like in Puerto Rico and what that and how people show up now. You know, I think I just learned so much about my own self and how much I have pride in myself and my own being through being Puerto Rican and through expressing that pride, you know, because it's just like, to express that, you have to be fully confident in yourself, you know what I'm saying. There's no doubt about the fact that, you know, my father, my stepmother, my abuela, all of them, they're also confident in themselves because of the fact that they're Puerto Rican. And I think that that pride and that just overt loud pride is one of my favorite things in the world to just see. Like when people drive down the highways, when the Puerto Rican Fest is coming up, when you just see flags on every car, like I love that so much. It's so fun to see. So I think pride, aside from food and music, it's definitely the pride for sure.
Yeah, especially Puerto Rican pride it runs
That is
so
a
deep.
strong
I actually saw
thing.
a meme that was like, I want my significant other to show me off like the Puerto Rican flag. And I was like, that is the tea. I was like, you know a Puerto Rican when you see one.
I had a joke with my friend about every time we see like a Puerto Rican or a Puerto Rican flag, we'll look at their body or their car and be like, okay, y'all, where are they from? And because you can obviously see the flag on their body, so we just be like, all right, y'all, where are they from? And you can, it's just like, okay, and we just laugh because it's like it's always a Puerto Rican. It's on their belt, in their pocket, on their car, on their hat. There's a tattoo. My dad has the giant coquille on his neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, where are they from? They're Puerto Rican. So yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican. Do you remember when we were doing La Habana, Tommy, the guy who played opposite me, he was also Puerto Rican. And he brought into our dressing rehearsals like a full size Puerto Rican flag and hung it like in front of his mirror. And I was like, I love it. I love it.
You should, King. I love it.
Tommy,
As you should.
Mikey,
oh my God.
Tommy and Mikey were two of the most Puerto Rican people I've ever met in my life. Like they just came in. They were like,
know.
"Yep, I'm Boricua, wepa, mira," and just started talking.
Mm-hmm.
It is such infectious energy, though, I must say.
It just makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're funny. There's
It
something
really
about
does.
the Caribbean sense of humor, too. It reigns all across the Caribbean. They're like the funniest people.
Yeah.
And the most lively people.
I just saw, okay, so the TikTok that I was mentioning, I just saw something about the Puerto Rican flag, actually, because I think all of us know that the Puerto Rican flag was like banned, like Puerto Ricans weren't allowed to show it. You could like be imprisoned for it and stuff. But I think it was after it was allowed to come back. I don't know if it was the U.S. or like some government official in Puerto Rico, but they changed the color blue to like the United States flag blue instead of the light blue that it is like now and what it originally was, to make it more American.
Interesting.
And I thought that was like such an upsetting and interesting fact, because it really is like there's so many subversive ways of people like trying to restrict your pride and your joy. And so even though they're like, okay, you get to have the flag back, but it's not how we last saw it, and it's still part of ours. And I think it's just like so devious the way that white supremacy is.
Devious. You're right.
Because it's just like, you can't just give it to them the way that it is. Like, that's their flag. It's not your flag. It's not up to you to decide how it should look, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just learning little facts like that about like even the most minute ways that white supremacy has like infiltrated all of these different people and their cultures and stuff. It's just insane to see how active of a thing it is.
It's tea.
Yeah.
Last question. Last question, which we kind of already touched on, but we ask all of our guests this because since our company is called Mi Latinidad, which means My Latinx Identity, what does Mi Latinidad mean to you?
I love this synchronicity with y'all too, by the way. Just have to say that before I answer this question.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Besties for the resties.
Besties for the resties.
Mi Latinidad, for me, I guess in the stage I'm in right now, this is going to be a long, drawn-out tree branch answer, but like in the stage that I'm in right now for myself, it's like, I guess it's almost like a constant exploration and discovery of myself, and figuring out like just, where, um, God, this, okay. I guess, okay. I guess for me, Mi Latinidad is just like filling in the holes of all my curiosities as a younger child, especially, um, because there was a lot of my self-discovery came through high school, came in college, and I didn't really understand what it meant to be, Latinx or Latine in 8th grade and 7th grade. I didn't understand it. I didn't know. I was like, yeah, you speak Spanish, but okay, that's fine. Like, I don't speak Spanish, so I'm not Puerto Rican. I can't be. I don't know how to dance salsa, and well, I do now, but like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? But like, I didn't know a lot of these things.
Hey.
And so because of that, I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was Puerto Rican. I didn't feel like I could be at the party with my family or I could be at the Puerto Rican festival because I didn't know these things, because I didn't know how to dance or speak Spanish or necessarily what even an acapulco was or anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? I just had zero idea of what it meant fully and how that lived in me. And so I guess now it's just like it's like an exploration and a reclamation almost of like, yes, this is who I am, this is how I identify. I am this, but I'm also this, and these two coexist. I can't be one without the other. And so it's really just like, for me, just a reclaiming of myself, a new way of understanding and loving my family, a new way of understanding and loving, just the way culture has spread, because a lot of things come from Africa, but like how it spread from Africa and like what remained, what changed, what the, you know what I'm saying? And just understanding that both of my families, sure, yes, my father's family comes from Puerto Rico, but at the end of the day, the Tainos came from Africa. So like I come from like the same but different places, but they were just, white people conquered them in very different ways. So it's just like understanding and reclaiming and exploring who I am and what I know about myself, and honestly my self-esteem. Like, it's really helped me feel better about who I am and feel better about myself in spaces, because I can answer questions and I know so much more about who I am because I know so much more about, my Boricua side. So yeah.
I love that.
Okay, I know we did like a great at the same time last question, but I have one more question.
What the hell?
I know, I ruined it. I'm so sorry.
What is it? Spit it out. It better be good.
Well, I want to talk about machismo because we're the four of us are cishet women, so like and also like all of us have a lot of women in our Latin women in our own families. So I want to hear like your feelings on being a man in this culture, and then also like how what experiences have you had with machismo and stuff like that. Like, what are your feelings on
Yeah,
it?
especially as a black man.
Yeah, because I mean it's so intricate.
Yeah. It's interesting. Machismo is such an interesting conversation to me because that's kind of where my father and I's relationship kind of splits. Because I grew up around women. Like my mother's side, I grew up in a matriarchal home. And like I that's what I know. That's what I understand. And even on my dad's side, there's a lot of women on that side, and that's what I'm saying. And so like that's just what I grew up around. That's what I know. That's who I usually go to for authority. That's who I go to for confidants. Like um, and my dad is a very machismo typical, what I'm saying, masculine, toxic to a certain degree man, and I think that's kind of where we've separated. Because that's not who I am. I'm really rebellious against that stuff, you know what I'm saying? I've always been like, no, 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 no. Who let's listen to the woman in the room because she know what she's talking about. Like she's not gonna go for the power because that's what I've been raised in. And like I think it's always been a thing for me of just like I understand it, but there's also a piece of me that has had to not necessarily embrace machismo, but and but like really understand it to the point of how it fits in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, I am a man. I am a cis hetero man. So there's things that what I'm saying that I know are inevitable in my life path because of that. And I think knowing that and knowing how the machismo has strained the relationship between my father and I, it's kind of similar to me Latinidad. It's an exploration, I guess, of just like um where am I learning to, what I'm saying, where have I've learned, I guess I'll say it like this, I've learned how to be a man from women, you know what I'm saying? And I think because of that, um I have a hard time with it because I'm just like, no, that's not, I don't like that. I don't like how you're behaving. I don't like that you are using your masculinity, your manhood as a sense of power over me. You know what I'm saying? That's never been my thing. That's never something I've enjoyed. That's always something I've rebelled against. And so it's interesting, I'm I'm not a super like, yeah, I'm a man. I'm not that type of dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm really, really soft hearted and really super vulnerable and like, that's just who I am. And that doesn't make me any less of a man. That doesn't make me any less, strong or masculine. You know what I'm saying? That just, it's, I was just raised in a household that's like, tend to your feelings, tend to your emotions, understand what you feel. And I don't think it's not a problem. I mean, it can be at times, but it's never been a thing of like, I blame my father for it. But it's like, that's how he was raised. It's like, you're a man. These are things you have to understand. You don't cry in my house, don't do this, don't do that, don't and that's kind of how he used to talk to me. And I'm just like, that's not how I rock, bro. I'm finna cry. One thing about me, one thing about Victor Musoni is I'm gonna cry. And so like and so it's just that kind of thing of like, yeah, it's, I've had a battle with it for a lot of my life, but I've come to understand it and where it comes from and not necessarily look at it as something that is a blame thing, so
Totally. I think I've also been on that journey too because like I haven't necessarily grown up around a lot of machismo because I didn't grow up around a lot of like Latin men, but like the women in my family did. So like hearing stories from them about their experiences with that, I think having that distance, I think I got like the privilege at least to kind of view it with just understanding where it comes from and like why the culture is what it is without having to experience any of the kind of like oppression that women experience from that. So it wasn't like, oh, I feel this way and like I hate this thing and these specific people because they treat me like this because of so and so. But I get to understand like the underpinnings of like, why is this the case, and like what are the things in like the societies where this is so prevalent that like make it the case. And it's very interesting to me. So yeah,
I think that's such a refreshing answer, honestly, Victor. And I think you've really shown that you are so honest with yourself and the way you present yourself as well. I think it's important for Latin men to really take that into account, especially now. And being the ones raised in the States, I'm like, we can take the weights off a little bit and start treating each other as equals. And I agree. I also didn't grow up around a lot of men. But the men in my family, it just feels like they have to follow this role when it's no longer the case. Like, it is 2021. We can just like chill a little bit. Like, it's all right, guys.
Yeah, but it's like they don't know how to do anything else.
They haven't been allowed to do anything else, so that's where we...
Yeah. And it's like machismo is also bad for men. Like, it's also like...
No, it's not good for anybody.
No, it's not, because it's like, you're a human being. You should be allowed to cry if you need to cry. You should be allowed to, like, be upset without having all of this, like, violence surrounding that anger, you know? And, like, you should be able to just be a human being and let that be enough, instead of, like, all of these gender roles of, like, oh, well, I can't allow myself to feel this way or whatever so that no one views me in a different light because of so-and-so. Yeah, like, that's also not good for them.
Period.
Literally.
It's not
like,
good for
just go
anyone.
to therapy, bro. Just go to therapy.
Exactly.
Go to therapy in general.
And I think just, like, feeling those emotions, like, and being vulnerable, I think that is very strong. I think anyone who, like, is taking stock of, like, their emotions and their thoughts and all of that, their feelings on things, that's very brave. That's, like, a very courageous act to do, to take care of yourself in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Victor, we love you. Welcome to the Mi Latinidad fam. Yes. Welcome to the Sobre Mesa fam.
You're always welcome at our table.
Yes, absolutely. Like we said, check out Victor's projects that are coming out soon. Yes. We will leave links to those once you give us links to those, and we can shoot you out and hype you up. Yes. Where can people find you so that they know where to follow your beautiful face?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram at Vic MENSONI _ Vic Mensoni _ Twitter at 10 TENFLY _
hype his stuff up. Like, as always, you guys can follow us at Mi Latinidad on Instagram, on Facebook, milatinidad.org, Viv Uribe on Instagram.
Alix wrote on Instagram. Actually, Alix wrote on everything. No one has my name.
There you go.
Thank God.
I don't know how that happened.
I didn't. Well,
but no one has her name. So until next time, Victor, once again, we love you.
Thank you
so much to the fam
for being here. I love you
so much.
Thank y'all
so much. I love y'all.